An ancient pagan temple for Persian and Indian gods, ancient extinct volcanoes, and the spear that pierced Christ. This is not a riddle about combining the incompatible. This, in short, is a description of the relics found east of Yerevan. How did this absolutely Hellenistic structure end up in these parts? All around, at the very least, there should be olive trees bearing fruit and Greek salad being made from ripe vegetables. But here, Armenian grandmothers are selling gata, pastila, and churchkhella. According to historians, the construction of the temple can be dated to the 1st century AD. It should be clarified right away, what we see is a reconstructed temple after the earthquake of 1679. So it was erected in honor of the sun god Mithra, who people began worshipping 2,000 to 3,000 years ago, before our era. And essentially this was the main deity for the ancient Indo-Iranian community, long before the emergence of the Abrahamic religions. We'll come back to Mithra later, but for now, let's talk about the temple itself. Since the pantheon was built around the 1st century AD, it immediately becomes clear where this antiquity comes from. The construction of the temple coincides with the heyday of Hellenistic culture, art, and aesthetics. For the sake of research interest, let's take a look at what was being built at the same time in other places. This is a kiosk, a Trojan, or the Pharaoh's Lodge in southern Egypt. And this is the Temple of the Triad, dedicated to Jupiter, Juno, and Minerva in the Lombardy region of Italy. And here is Syria, the temple of the god Baal in the city of Palmyra. Unfortunately, in 2015 it was almost destroyed. Now let's return to the god of the sun and harmony, Mithras. Originally, as I mentioned earlier, this deity was worshipped by the ancient Indo-Iranian community, but later it was also recognized by the Greeks and Romans. The latter held him in especially high regard. He was the patron of Roman soldiers. That's how it all came together. As a result, what we have is essentially a pagan temple dedicated to an ancient Indo-Iranian god, built in the classical style in Armenia. In general, Mithras is an interesting deity. You can read more about him if you're interested. The Garni temple is the only surviving pagan temple from pre-Christian Armenia, and Armenia adopted Christianity in 301 AD. Ionic columns and elegant carvings. Let's fly closer to take a better look. On the frieze, you can especially notice some mismatched fragments, as if the pieces got mixed up in a children's construction set. As I mentioned earlier, the temple was destroyed in the 17th century and was only restored 3 centuries later. The Garni fortress occupies a triangular promontory. The deep gorge is encircled on 2 sides by the Azat River. The steep slopes became a natural, impregnable barrier. This gorge hides another mystery, but this time a natural one. Basalt hexagons. How did such beauty come to be? We'll definitely find out. But first, I suggest we drive over 10 kilometers to the northeast to solve another mystery. The cave monastery, or the Monastery of the Spear, Geghard, is located in a gorge at the site of a sacred spring. It's no surprise that mountain streams run across the floor of the sanctuary in some places. The temple is literally hand-carved into the rock, just like the carvings that adorn the domes, walls, and columns. The most spectacular bas-relief depicts the head of a bull with a chain holding 2 lions by the neck. Between the lions is an eagle and in its talons a lamb. Researchers believe that this is the coat of arms of the Persian family. This family made a tremendous contribution to the development of the cave part of the complex, which brought Geghard widespread fame. The faint natural light that enters the temple through openings in the domes creates dramatic artistic shadows. Against this dark charcoal backdrop, the crimson glow of candles adds contrast. For a long time, the monastery housed a biblical relic, the spear that pierced the body of Jesus. According to legend, the Apostle Thaddeus brought this spear to Armenia. It is now on display at the Etchmiadzin Museum. Geghard deserves a separate episode. There are so many fascinating details in it and its history, details that I am eager to share. But unfortunately, I had very little time to visit the church. I hope I will definitely come back here. What if everything you see now used to be an ancient volcano? It seems that's exactly the case. After all, columnar jointing, another name for basalt columns, forms where there has been an eruption of volcanic rocks. It is the uneven cooling temperature of the magma in different directions that creates such a remarkable natural wonder. In Armenia, it has been given the name Symphony of Stones. Surely you know of other picturesque examples of such columns around the world. The Giant's Causeway in Northern Ireland, Fingal's Cave in Scotland, Cape Stolpchati on Kunashir Island, and Devil's Tower in Wyoming, USA. The Armenian basalt columns reach heights of up to 50 meters, which indicates that the lava flow was truly powerful. But that was about 40 million years ago. Most often, prismatic basalt columns have 5 or 6 sides, but the number can vary from 3 to 8. Experiments have made it possible to determine that this columnar structure forms at temperatures of 890–840 degrees Celsius. Beautiful, but dangerous. Basalt hexagons occasionally break off and fall on tourists' heads. Look here, you can see a hefty piece that's about to fall off, but the happy tourists below don't notice it. Swallows have made the stone organ their home. Look how many of them there are, and how many nests. It's practically a swallow residential complex. This is the kind of place Armenia has to offer, full of mysteries and adventures. Share your impressions in the comments and send this to your friends. Well, it's time for me to say goodbye. See you next time.